So welcome everybody to Prosperity Consciousness Book Club.
Yahoo!
Kalpana and I are, I know a lot of you guys are big fans of the book, and for a couple of months we've been connecting, and funny enough, this has come up several times as conversation because we reread it and kind of at the same time, and they were like, we're a little bit too excited about this book, so let's do something with it.
Share the joy.
Basically share the joy, invite you guys to something else. And we also announced it's going to be a little bit different than only book club because we're going to interact and do some different stuff. So we're also not going to start from the beginning. We're going to start in chapter 2 just because we jumped into something. So that's where we're going to start. Today we might be reading a little bit more, but we'll also have conversations, and we would love to have conversations with you guys. So this is just a thing. You're allowed to interrupt us. You're allowed to talk. You're allowed to be here.
You're not passive listeners. You may
and I know that you might be passive listener at the end. Who knows? But just so you don't feel like, hey, I have a question there, or hey, look at that. We might stop because we have something going on, or some reflection about something, and then we'll talk a little bit about it because we want to create a little just awareness about things and also share some of the things that we have been going through. And I'm the worldwide coordinator for the moment, so I'm going through a lot with them. They're pretty amazing. They're so freaking amazing. So I'm really grateful to be able to work with them. And with a lot of you guys. Lale hosts a lot of classes in the US. And at the moment, there's classes everywhere. Not in Asia, but in Europe, in Australia, in US. So that's also an online.
Yeah.
So we have also acknowledged there's different pages. The numbers on the pages are different depending on what book you have. Even if you have a green one, there's two. I don't even know if there's 2 editions, but definitely page 15 on mine and page 15 of Kalpana's were not the same. So we're like, what? So chapter 2, we're going to say, because in my book, chapter 1 starts on page 1, but it's not really the first page. Our beautiful chapter that we're going to start with is called Money is Not the Problem. The problem is our unwillingness to receive. Yes, I'll just start a little bit and then we'll take it from there. Or insignia is fine there. Okay. Chatissa discussed the following areas in this chapter. Receiving. How much are you willing to receive? Receiving the greatness of who you truly are. The art of receiving everything without judgment. Tools to enhance your ability to receive money and everything else. Money is actually easy to attract. There is an abundance of money and resources, a never-ending supply. It is only unwillingness to receive that makes these things hard to obtain. We have learned from discussions we have had with clients, colleagues, and workshop participants from around the world that many people have wounds and negative beliefs about money. The wounds and the beliefs are different storylines, but their effects and consequences are always the same. They prevent money from flowing effortless through your life. We have discovered that money is never the problem. The problem is your unwillingness to receive, and which is a byproduct of the way you think about money or about yourself. And then we go. This is like becoming willing to receive. Steve and I finally, I means Chatissa, of course. Steve and I finally came to understand the source of our own and of most people's money problems during a conversation we had with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Energy for Transformation, now called Access Consciousness. Gary said something that helped us understand our own state of affairs around money. Receiving is a problem, and you are the solution. The issue is not money. The problem is that you're not willing to receive you into your life. The main thing you're unwilling to receive is the greatness of you. Unwillingness to receive the greatness of me is the problem. I was intrigued. Gary suggested I ask myself, the universe, a question. So what is it going to take for me to be able to receive the greatness of me? question I still ask almost every day.
Mhm.
And we were inspired by Gary's statements that what we are willing to receive determines the amount of money we can have in our lives. He said it was essential to look at what we were unwilling to receive because this determines the amount of money we're willing to have. We saw that the willingness to receive everything is essential if we desire to create wealth. It is also indispensable if we wish to keep the wealth. Steve and I realized that we are the only ones who knew what was stopping us. We would only be able to get to the truth of the issue once we acknowledge that receiving is the problem and we are the solution. We asked ourselves a question. What am I unwilling to receive about me that, if I were willing, would allow me to have the totality of me? Then we began to look at what we were unwilling to receive in general. We discovered that we were blocking ourselves from receiving money in the same ways that we were blocking ourselves from receiving many other things in our lives and our work. Miss Kalpana.
Receiving the greatness of you. Becoming aware of what we were unwilling to receive about ourselves was a new frontier for Steve and me. Gary said to us, "The main thing you are unwilling to receive is the greatness of you. If you are willing to receive the uniqueness and the greatness of you and willing to allow the world and everyone to see the uniqueness and the greatness of you, the world will then give to you what you truly deserve." I asked him, what would it take for that to happen? And Gary answered, "Honey, you have to have a willingness to perceive and receive yourself differently. This is the beginning of creating what you truly desire in your life. That's the place where you have to begin." Beautiful. As I thought about it, I got insight into how I was unwilling to receive the uniqueness and the greatness of me. Not only was I unwilling to receive my greatness, I was actually rejecting, negating, and denying my uniqueness. I didn't want to be different or stand out from the crowd. I was doing everything possible to hide my power. I assumed it was virtuous to be modest, humble, and understated. I thought that the only other alternative was to be obnoxious and full of myself. I had misidentified and misapplied the notion of humility and modesty. I had been taught during my early years to avoid being conceited, boastful, and self-serving. I was conditioned to turn away from self-acknowledgement and avoid talking about my achievements. I thought it was a good thing to be unassuming and modest about my talents and abilities. After I talked with Gary, I began to ask myself this question: what I am unwilling to receive about the greatness of me. At first, I felt I was being kind of naughty, immodest, and self-centered. Gary and Steve told me to get over myself. This broke down the idea that I needed to conceal my power. My reaction was, "You mean it's not arrogant to receive the greatness of me? Could I really do that without appearing audacious and conceited?" I had utterly bought into the lie that there would be negative consequences if I let myself be seen as confident, glorious, and magnificent. I had suppressed my confidence and potency because I thought it was improper, obnoxious, and conceited to be powerful. I had bought these lies and limitations as I was growing up, and then I tried to create my life based on them. I was constantly hiding my power and keeping my talents and gifts hidden from others and from myself. Once I became aware of what I was unwilling to receive about myself, I was able to stop pretending that I was weak, pale, and uninteresting. I saw that for me to have something glorious and magnificent in my life, I had to develop a more conscious attitude toward my body and myself. I had to be willing to receive myself in totality without judgment. I had to be willing to claim, own, and be everything that I am. I had to be as unconventional, weird, wacky, and outrageous as I truly am, no matter how uncomfortable that might be at first. I had to stop equivocating and choosing me no matter what. This one was really for me a huge one. I don't know how that was for you, Lisen, but when I read this, I was like, oh my God, where am I making myself mediocre?
Absolutely too much. And I can see how many points of views I had about greatness. Exactly that. I'm not modest or humble if I'm looking at the greatness. And it was funny enough, the last time I read this book, it was like around November. It was like the topic as well, looking at that even more, because it was also in Dane's class and everything. And I was
everywhere.
like, oh, this is annoying. Because it has been so wrong, and I come from Sweden where everybody has to be equal. So we even have a word for that is only for Swedish people. Like, it does not exist a translation for that, and it's called lagom. And we also have a new hashtag, no more lagom, where nobody stands out. Nobody is really basically flat line. We should be on the same, because then we're kind of like, in our weird society, if we are all equal, we're all really taking care of everybody, and we're kind and nice and all those things. But we then also judge anytime anybody stands out or does anything that is a greatness. And yes, if you go to a high level of greatness, then you're fine again.
Yeah, but you have to
you have to do the job.
You have to do
star or something or like that. Absolutely. I mean, Kalpana and I have a thing together that we're being judged very often that we're too loud, especially when we laugh. And I have to, it's just like a fun little story, but if you know Jonas, it's my ex, he opened a restaurant in Sweden, and Kalpana was there for Bowman's class, and we went to the restaurant. And the cooks, the chefs, I had no idea. They had heard Kalpana laugh, they had heard me laugh, and they knew Kalpana, and they knew me, they knew, of course, but they remember Kalpana. So when I was in there for one of dinners, I don't know if it was the last dinner I had there, basically when Netta came into the kitchen, they asked, is it Kalpana or is it Lisen there?
No, really?
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, that's too funny.
That's so funny. And do you remember, Lisen, how we went to a restaurant together in Paris with a group of people?
Yes.
Like the people asked us to not be so happy. Mm-hmm. And this is like where also just being you is not seen as something like it's not appreciated. And this misidentification of when you're doing that, you're not being humble and you have to be understated and otherwise it's unkind is such a great lie. Mm-hmm. It really changes a lot. And Leonie, Edith Paul is saying she probably had lifetimes in Sweden before. And Leonie says the Dutch proverb or point of view is do normal, be normal, and you're crazy enough already. So it's really this similar kind of lagom shit.
Yeah. I mean, the funny part is if you're willing not to be lagom, you have a lot of possibilities in Sweden or Scandinavia because you stick out. So you are different. It's the same in Germany. Oh, maybe you don't hear me. Yeah, same in Germany. Yeah. If you're happy in Germany, you're kind of like, okay, you're weird, you're different, and they do look at you. But it's very interesting to see how could we use it to our advantage as well. And is it okay to be judged?
Yeah, I feel I am the one that wrote the lagom shit. I find that I have broken through. There's like a level that you can break through into people's world, and they're like they see you, and they're like, wow, what is that? I want some of that. But it's like they have this. Maybe it's my comfortable distance. I want to blame it on them, but like I have this like it's like once I've gotten to a certain level, and now it feels like this like wall. It's like they want you for like that short increments of time, how much they can handle, like the intensity. So, but also I think that it's more in me, you know? So it's like, I have to like constantly, when I'm in the bus station or like in the train station, sometimes I'm like clenching up, like I can't touch anyone. Like I have to like constantly be like, okay, I'm not Swedish. I'm taking on like point of view that I like, it's bad to rub someone's arm. So it's just like little things.
Oh yeah, we would get too intimate. That's not okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't get too close. So it's interesting.
Hey, Sweden needs you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things about living here.
Absolutely. I understand that. But what would it take for not to change yourself, but also be aware of what is going on?
Yes.
Who does it belong to is, favorite tool keeps on being the favorite tool in my life.
Always.
But it is interesting looking at this and letting go of the points of views, what it means to acknowledge your greatness and all the concept of being humble or being modest or being not too much, because everybody has points of views and every country has points of views. So it's really cool. It's really interesting.
Do you want to continue?
Yes. And now I'm like, is that
The place where?
Oh, there, yes. The place where I had to start was the willingness to perceive and receive myself differently. I had to stop stifling and suppressing my talents and abilities. Suppression was the way I used to manipulate and control myself. Oh my God, yes.
None of us have done that.
Freedom began with the willingness to receive the greatness who I truly am. Not just to wishfully think about it, but to actually experience it. I had to truly live who I am right here, right now, instead of thinking about who I am as something outside of me, something that I had to manage, or something that I would like to do in the future. When I started receiving the greatness of who I truly am, then everything in my life started to transform, including my financial situation. Since then, I have had an array of extraordinary experiences and have received money, which have further transformed my view of myself and of my potential. Has anything like this happened to you? How many times have you refused to receive the greatness of who you truly are because you thought it was improper or because you did not want to be ridiculed? How much more could you have if you're willing to receive the greatness of who you truly are? Acknowledging your unwillingness to receive the greatness who you truly are and all of the talents, abilities, and awareness that you previously decided you couldn't have. Will you now claim and own them and destroy and create everything that doesn't allow them to exist? Yes!
Yes.
One word of warning. If you choose to practice receiving the greatness of who you truly are, you have to be willing to be seen for who you really are. You have to be willing to receive anything from anybody. You have to be willing to receive compliments, accolades that I like that translation. I have no idea what that means. Does anybody have a good translation? Admiration, as well as criticism, disapproval, and ridicule. You don't have to buy the responses as real. You just have to be willing to receive it all without judging yourself or others. I had to practice that on New Year. That was really funny. So I was at my favorite hotel on New Year, and 3 of my friends were there, and we were happy. Like, well, put 4 exes happy people together, and they're really happy, no? And I keep on forgetting that Spanish people are a bit serious. I don't know. So we were eating dinner and we didn't think that we were laughing that much. Kind of like kept it a little bit because there were so many people, but we were constantly having joy and they brought really good food and we were laughing. So after the new year came and we were still like having fun and all that, the owner of the hotel came, "Hey, Lisen, can you come over here? This group really wants to know why you guys are so happy." And I was like, "What? Excuse me? No, you have to explain it. I do not know how to explain this. I told them that you do laugh therapy." And I was like, "What did you tell them?" And I was like, "Laugh therapy? I don't do laugh therapy." I was like, no, you'd really have to come over. I've been talking a lot and I don't know what to do now. I'm like, okay. So I went over there and I got interrogated for at least half an hour why we were so happy. And they were so convinced because we were kind of steady happy that we had smoked something, pot or something, because it's legal in Spain to smoke a little bit. And I was like, "No, I don't do drugs. That's not fun." And they kept on asking me to find an explanation why we're happy, to be able to put us in a box so they're more okay that they're not. And I was like, well, but you can't just be happy. I'm like, well, yes, if you do change your points of views or this, like I tried to give them some perspective of how I was before, so they understood I was having not a great life, so we could at least connect there. I was really weird for them. And then I brought them along the way, and I do these tools, and then I'm coach. Maybe that helps because I've worked with myself. And then I brought them like slowly into them. And then the owner, yeah, she does this access bar, it's badass. Yeah, do something on the head and it helps you. And I was like, yes, we do that too. So it's really funny. But at the end, they're like, well, and they tried to put, yeah, if you're friends together, you're happier. But it was very interesting because it was intense of 5 people really asking tons of questions. I was sitting there. And my friends were outside, and I was like, "You just left me here." But at the end, it was really just I had to practice it just like it's receiving, and I didn't have a point of view about them. And at the end, they were just like starting to receive me, and that was a fun energy, just shifting the energy. And then they really just loved having me in their whatever conversation they had. And it was really cool afterwards because if I wasn't defending, I was trying to explain a little bit because they were like bombarding me with questions. And the next day, because we all stayed there for a couple of days, they were kind of like more open and more receiving and all that. And it was very interesting. But then I looked at this, yes, the willingness to receive anything. Because there is quite a lot of points of views created by also people not understanding. So that was really just a little side note here.
Cool. Yeah.
What we have decided that we can't receive limits what we can have. Oh boy. Steve and I have made the willingness to receive everything without judgment the guiding principle in our lives. We practice this in our way of being with one another in our board and leadership consulting business. If we're experiencing a limitation or a difficulty in our lives, whether it has to do with work, family, relationship with clients, business dealings, or even sex or our interaction with each other, we know that there has to be something that we're not willing to receive. One of the great insights I've had using Access tools is that in order to create any kind of limitation, I realized that I have to cut off my receiving. It is only what I have decided I cannot receive that limits what I can have in my life. We have learned that if anything in our lives is not working, it is because we are unwilling to perceive, know, be, and receive something. When we notice that we feel limited, we make it a practice to become more receptive and vigilant. We catch ourselves in the act of resisting or reacting to something and ask ourselves this question: what am I unwilling to receive here? In practice this, we discover that we're not any one particular point of view, theme, or subject that we're unwilling to receive. It was a myriad of things. Asking ourselves, what am I unwilling to receive here, has allowed us to become more aware of our fixed points of views about our reality and how wealth can be created. Being open and willing to receive everything with gratitude and without judgment has allowed us to expand our awareness and ability and to access infinite possibilities beyond our previous experience. We've been able to create a highly successful business as well as new seminars and products, which in turn has created expansion of consciousness for the business world, more clients, and more money for us. But more importantly, we have learned to navigate the world with ease, joy, and an exuberant expression of life. How does it get any better than this, and what else is possible?
Yeah. I love this part. Be willing to receive everything and to lose everything. Yeah. Steve and I have noticed that when we are willing to receive everything and also willing to lose everything, then we expand our capacity to overcome the inevitable obstacles and see things through. The willingness to receive anything without judgment is an art. It's a skilled practice. It takes a great deal of discipline, immense dedication, and powerful determination. We have found that when we are willing to receive everything, we have the benefit of enjoying everything as it is. There is no need to alter or change anything. We advocate a lifelong exploration of the willingness to receive everything without judgment. This practice requires us to live with total awareness. We discovered that in order to stick with this practice, we have to do 3 things. 1. Develop the discipline to notice the times when we refuse to receive. 2. Build the dedication to persevere until greater awareness becomes embedded. And 3. Discover within ourselves the strong determination for conscious way of being. We have had to step up and become more than we had been willing to be in the past. This has required a willingness to be more in every respect. We had to stop refusing to be who and what we truly are. We have had to be willing to put ourselves out there in a way that we were not willing to before. We have had to be willing to be controversial and to stir the pot. We have had to defy, defeat, and destroy those old, erroneous definitions of ourselves, of each other, and of our business. Once we made a demand of ourselves to receive the greatness of us, then our business started to expand and thrive more than we could have ever imagined. We created more clients, more products, more services, more opportunities, and more income. After we made the willingness to receive everything without judgment the guiding philosophy in our lives, our levels of perception, clarity, and insight took gigantic leaps forward. The willingness to receive everything without judgment is the dynamic power that gives us the audacity, the confidence, the strength, and courage to do what we want with our lives, to see things through, and to overcome the inevitable obstacles. Now, this one for me is really so powerful. And every time I read this chapter, I just really get chills even. It's so strong. And it's also like sometimes we say like, I'm willing to do it, but are you really willing to do it when at that moment? And just asking every day, like, hey, what am I unwilling to receive? What can I receive here? What have I decided about myself that doesn't allow me to receive this as well? Is really such an awesome way of, for me, has been such an awesome way of stepping up into that power that Jyoti also talks about. Yeah. Receiving everything, no matter what it looks like. As soon as we chose to practice the willingness to receive everything, we became willing to be more unconventional and controversial in our work. We talked about notions, concepts, and practices that were not often heard about in boardrooms or senior executive teams. Our business started to expand exponentially because we were willing to be more. We were willing to do things that shifted other people's thinking. We were willing to receive everything, including judgment and criticism, no matter what it looked like. Soon we became leaders and pace setters on the inspirational and leadership conference trail, and in great demand for internal workshops with boards and directors. Since Steve has become willing to put himself out there in a way that he has not willing to before, he has been invited to provide keynote presentations to conferences on topics that other speakers feel are too controversial. He now willingly speaks about subjects such as consciousness in corporate strategy setting and board governance. When he presents to large gatherings and conferences, there are often in excess of 600 people in the audience. Many of them are not able to receive his message about consciousness and awareness. Since Steve is able to maintain the space of receiving everything, even rejection and criticism, he never gets nervous. He's able to facilitate expansion of consciousness even for people who are not willing to receive him. He leaves his audiences inspired with practical, conscious leadership tools and tips that they can apply at work, at home, and in their communities. Even if some people are unable to accept the message, they still go away with interesting anecdotes and techniques. Something profound and transformational has happened to Steve as a keynote speaker. Since he has chosen to be willing to receive everything, he has developed greater insight and a clarity of inner vision that he had never had before. He has repeatedly been invited to facilitate workshops that assist senior executives, board members, and leadership teams to become more conscious and to lead with awareness. We are now willing to be daring and audacious. We speak out on contentious subjects. Because we are willing to receive everything without judgment, business people from all over the world are showing up and inviting us to work with them. How does it get any better than this? And what else is possible? I love this. I'm also a performer or artist, and getting judged is like normal.
From morning to evening, yes.
Exactly. And in the art scene, it's so like, it's like nearly the basis of functioning. And for me, this willing to be daring and audacious has really opened up a more ease, even more than I already had, with willing to just create whatever I desire to create without looking at what other people are willing to have. Like here, like Steve speaks about that people are not always willing to receive him, but it doesn't stop him. And for me, this has really been a great inspiration to just be like, if you like it, you can like it. And if you don't like it, that's totally okay too. So that gives so much space to just create also.
Totally, I get that. I mean, I get performance is based on judgment.
Totally.
Everything. But
yeah, I have this funny story, short one, that I had a show in India where contemporary dance is not that well known. Like the kind of work I do is just my own style. And I had a show, and the next day there was a festival. There was a lady who I know from England, and she came, like I saw her coming to me, like for me, like across the audience of 500 people. And she's like, Kalpana, I saw your show yesterday. And I said, oh, thanks for coming. I didn't like it. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, thanks for telling me. She's like, yes, actually, I don't like contemporary work. And I'm like, okay, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people who don't like it. That's fine. And she didn't know what to say because I wasn't getting upset and I wasn't reacting. I was like, I get it. I was like, I totally understand. You don't have to like my work. And, and she was kind of like, I came all the way to tell you this and it's not working. It was so much fun with
no
it.
reaction.
No reaction. And it was like, okay, game over. So she was like, okay. And then she left. But there's so much more ease with it instead of having to respond and react to everything that people give to you as well. So it's really cool. Not possible for Access, I can tell you.
I would have defended myself a lot why I chose that and what it's good and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and what other people had said that did like it and blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. To prove.
To prove, exactly.
Hi, it's Trace. Can I just share something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for saying that, because I've just got the awareness that I actually create a lot all the time without really acknowledging it. Like yesterday, I went school shopping because it's school time over here with my 13-year-old, my 14-year-old, and we were trying to find a backpack, and it was just murderous. Like, yeah, kill me now, because she was just not liking anything that we found or saw. And I'm like going, lower my praise, expand out. And I had been doing it anyway. I stopped for a coffee and I messaged my friend and said, oh my God, kill me now, this is just shocking. Well, she started sending me Minion memes, and Minion memes absolutely send me off laughing hysterically. Well, I was sitting in the coffee shop and I could not stop laughing, and I was laughing so hard. And Katie's just across the road, across the table, with her very serious face because this is not going well, and she's starting to get this little smirk on her face, and I don't really acknowledge, or I don't care what people think when I do this, because I do it all the time. I do crazy stuff all the time in supermarkets, shopping centres, anywhere. But I get just being me in that moment, in that space, just shifts so much. And I was sort of noticing a couple of people started to look at me going, why is why is she laughing? But yeah, and it's that shift. And I now get that the real key is to acknowledge that in that moment. Big time, because and even a conversation about acknowledging. I work with Wendy every week. We have so much fun. We run each other's bars and just explore and expand and crack open stuff big time. And we started talking about where we had what our capacities were, and being quite limited by living in my husband's head. Well, she shared that because she was doing the same thing, and being in someone else's reality. And we got talking about what I call the past before kids, and I had the most amazing, exciting world. I worked in event management for over 20 years and worked organising conferences, functions in 5-star hotels, and loved it. And the capacities that you're required to do that and be that are huge. But I just took all that for granted because that's just what you do when you work in a hotel like that. And, you know, like tapping back into those capacities to believe or step into the brilliance of you and who you are, it's like it's really feels quite foreign, but it's actually me in my life. Like, so I'd like to actually explore that a little bit if that is part of what we're chatting about, if that's possible. It would be really cool because it's all about receiving. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
For as much as possible.
Yeah, very cool. Because and receiving, yeah. So wow, this is cool. Thank you.
It's really so we're reading this chapter. I don't know how much more we're going to read, and let's say the topic is today receiving, and we meet up on Wednesday again. For you Thursday, but if we looked at that, what if we were willing to have these questions really present for the next days, and really just like, okay, let's have this, or write them down, or make some notes, and really just have them running with you all the time, or thinking about them, or when something shows up, hey, receiving, so we also together just go for it and see what really occurs when we are on it.
Cool. Oh, I've got notes. I've got notes on this evening.
Yeah, and
so
these
thank
are,
you.
and what I get also is they're so simple and so powerful, because since I read this book, like when I was doing that, actually, like what Lisen is saying, like I would read it, and then I often read this book before I go to sleep, and then I would actually go to bed with it and wake up and play with those questions all day, and it just just open up my world, and I wonder what would be created if we all do that together. Like so fun. Leonie says, you don't have to react to everything, ? You don't. You actually don't have to anything. You have choice. And, reaction is not actually having choice, is mostly like knee jerk often. And that's what people do. They just, I jerk off. No, I knee jerk. You knee jerk is like,
where are you going, Kalpana?
I know. But it's just like an automatic response, and we're not present. And when you are actually willing to receive everything, you don't have to do anything with what you're receiving. You can just be. And therefore you stay present. And that itself, I think, is an audacious, daring thing in this world. And for sure also in business, where people are often also playing with egos and, being seen or not being seen, and how much. And then if you're just like, okay, people don't like my keynote speech, but that's okay. It's a whole different reality you're creating, because nothing can stop you as well.
No. So true. So true. And we're very well trained to react.
Exactly.
Yeah. We would take not to at all. Oh boy. We are that
what are you unwilling to receive?
What are you unwilling to receive? Look at what you're unwilling to receive. In truth, if anything in your life is not working, it's because there's something you're unwilling to receive. I'm like, oh boy. I'm gonna have that. This is so funny because I bought, weirdly enough, I have 2 of these with me in Spain, so I made sure I have it. I did not know that. But none of them are the first book, because the first book I had is full of colors. Every page is like underlined. Oh, there's another one. And now it's really nice. I get to do new colors here. But that would be one of my big ones.
Yeah. I actually really played with it. When I read it, I actually sat and went, okay, what have I decided that I'm unwilling to receive, and what is that creating? And just like being with it already, it's just like, wow.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. This is funny. You may even discover that you're unwilling to receive money. Oopsie daisy. Here you go. When we coach people to shift out of their scarcity paradigm into prosperity consciousness, one thing we notice time after time is that their ability to create unlimited amounts of money is conditioned by 2 factors. number one, the point of view they have about money, and a willingness to receive it. This is my topic a lot when I coach. I've started coaching some restaurants and hotels, the smaller hotels, and we always come to the thing about point of view about money. And if you tell them everybody has a point of view about money, they first react, and I was like, okay, this is so funny, because when they look at it and we bring it up, they see, and almost every second sentence there is usually a point of view about something with money. And people don't even notice that we have points of views about money. We think it's a natural thing. And that's where I'm like, oh, how much can we change with that? So we have discovered that the amount of money a person has created in his or her life is in proportion to the willingness or unwilling to receive it. Said another way, people's willingness to receive money is conditioned by the point of view they have about how money can flow into their lives. Ooh, yes. Our clients' ability to receive and create money resides only in the points of views that they have brought about as true. The common viewpoint many of our clients have about money is it's not good to have too much of, and it's not a good thing to receive from others. This viewpoint expresses an unwillingness to receive from anywhere. Very often, people's unwillingness to receive directs the course of their behavior and actions. What they constantly focus on plays a key role in facilitating what, when, where, why, and how money can show up in their physical world. Now we have a practical process. Woohoo! An important step in cultivating the willingness to receive everything without judgment is developing the willingness to claim and own the capacity to receive, even though you may have no idea what that means or what will be coming to you. A key part of being willing to receive everything is to stop resisting and reacting to any interaction you or anyone else has. Kalpana example is perfect here. When you catch yourself resisting or reacting, ask yourself the following questions. Because if we take the scenario with you, Kalpana, and this woman comes up, and we were a couple of years ago, in that moment, there would be a little bit different choices you would have.
Different, yeah. There would be defense, there would be barriers, there would be justification, there would be lots of judgment and buying it as true and real as well,
yes.
And totally rejecting whatever she was giving me. Yeah,
yes.
totally.
And that's the amazing thing. If you also perceive directly the energy, something's coming up. Hey, what am I willing to receive here? For a while, I was always when I had a reaction, I was just lowering my barriers every time because I was like, let's lower them. I can see this question is just a brilliant way of doing the same as something similar as well. But what am I unwilling to receive here? Because it is interesting how often we defend something when somebody comes with something towards you instead of like, well, it's the same with they were interrogating me with really weird points of views. I'm like, I could have gone defending and why, and I was like, I was sitting there like, I can't laugh too much now, right?
I'm not allowed to laugh about this conversation.
Is it a film or this feels really funny? So, and we had a little champagne, so it's not like I was not even happier. So that was really funny. But I knew in that moment, I do have to be a little bit more just smiling for a moment so I don't laugh. Because the questions in my world were ridiculous, of course. Because I was like, what? And I was like, oh, they really want to have a conversation here. Oh, this is funny. So next exercise. Or process. What ideas or viewpoints have I created that are stopping me from receiving? Oh, these ideas and viewpoints may seem meaningful and significant or even sacred to you. It may be challenging for you to actually look at them. That is so true. What would it be like to receive from everybody without judgment? What would it be like to receive from everybody without any point of view? Having a point of view can be a judgment and largely automatic or unconscious. This is fun because, I've heard that for years, like, hey, receive without judgment or point of view or like that. I'm like, yeah, it's great, but I still don't get what that means. And slowly I totally get it when I see that I'm not reacting, or I'm not doing anything. I'm not trying to defend or explain. I can still have a conversation, but it's truly amazing when you get to experience them. So this is really cool.
This is really interesting what you're saying also about the explaining, because how often do people think then that you're weak?
Yeah.
Because you're not responding. Like, come on, they're like saying something to you. You must stand up for yourself. And this is just more like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I remember when we had the dinner in Paris, Lisen,
Yeah.
we went out with a group of people, and this lady got really upset because we were so happy, and she came and like kind of yelled at us. And then Lisen said, thank you for your judgments. I still remember this because I still like remember it so well, because I was just like, I love the way you say this with a smile on your face. She was like, thank you for your judgments. And then we were like, okay, bye. We were just smiling, but you said that, thank you for your judgments. And her brain just got totally like melted when you said that, because she just was like, how can you say that with this energy?
She wasn't happy about that.
It was so funny. But yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah, because she definitely wanted to make us very upset, and she was in for it. Like, they had just sent the waiter to us, and we didn't know because the waiter didn't reply to it. They came to our table I think it was at the end, and told us that they're upset because the sound went up and we were maybe too loud. It might be correct, in the way that they had a little bit disturbance. And some might have had a little bit of disturbance because we were loud and they couldn't have a conversation. Upstairs, I do perceive that they were having a serious dinner and not in for joy. And we were annoying to them, totally annoying. And we were so happy. We were in like a dessert restaurant, and every dessert was like an piece of art. And we were like, oh, and we were having a lot of fun. But when they came out, they all went out like throwing daggers at us, making us so wrong, and commenting. And I loved the comment that I felt ridiculous. They were like, "Oh, you Americans!" I was like,
we were like,
"What is
Americans? Hey, what do Americans have to do with this?" So,
we're like, "What?" Because
the Americans out there.
I loved it. I was like, "Huh, I don't get it. No, this is funny." Okay, we might have.
That's apparently a cuss word for Europeans.
Oh yeah, and they were very harsh. So I remember in class, because it was, I think, the EU class with Dane, and another Jonas, a Norwegian guy. He brought it up in class because he still had some things like going on in his system afterwards, where it almost like the purpose of their judgment was to stick with us. So it would stick in us, no matter how happy we were. They really wanted us to feel bad afterwards. And he brought it up, and I was really happy because I could sense a little energy of that. If it was mine or the group, I didn't know. But I was like, wow, that's really amazing. So judging somebody, you want somebody else to not feel good. So when that got super clear, I'm like, oh, wow, no matter what I do, if it is correct or I am too loud and they get upset, and I might have to apologize that I am too loud. Yeah. And I get it. If you want to have a conversation and there's people laughing that you can't hear your voice, but I still don't have to make myself wrong, and it doesn't have to stick with me. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So I'm really grateful for that.
It's a very great moment. Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. I learned a lot, and I also learned to just see the situation and then whatever I want to choose, but then also not to stick myself with that energy. And it's not been the last time I've been made wrong for being loud. And I think they will come more of them, but it was really a good experience. So I'm very grateful for that couple.
Yeah. Petra is asking, when you get bored all the time and do something else, is it also not willing to receive? So do you distract yourself instead of receiving? Is that what you are talking about, Petra? Are you creating boredom to not be present and receive, and so you choose boredom as an excuse to not receive? Yeah, that's what is kind of reading from you when I read that question. Yes.
And boredom is so funny. This triggers a thought. Like Stephen talks about boredom, or something is fun or not fun. And he has this question that annoys a lot of people when they say, well, it's not fun. Well, what if that's just a point of view? And I was like, So when I don't like something or something's not fun for me, it's often we like, it's not fun, so I'm not choosing that. He's like, what if it's just a point of view? And I was like, the first time I heard it, I'm like, wow, because very often we decide through something we'd say it's fun or not fun. And what if that's just a point of view and I'm using a point of view to determine something or choose something? I'm like, oh my God.
Totally.
So that was really fun to look at. And yeah.
I love that question. What if it's just a point of view? Well, Petra's laughing, so.
Oh yeah, the comment there saying that without sarcasm is, I guess that is when I said thank you for the judgment. And I really can say, if you ever say that loud, don't do it if you want to make somebody else wrong.
No,
it's just then we're just on the same level. And if I have a reaction to me, I really try to shut up. Once in a while, it doesn't work. Yeah. And I say something that I know this is not the best Lisen that exists on the planet. I'm aware of that. And then other thing, I get in Sweden, I've gotten a lot of comments because my dog's not on the leash, and I was like, oh my God. And sometimes I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. She's not on the leash. So it's really funny to see yourself, what you choose in the moment. But change, if you want to create any change, just use it when you don't have a point of view, because that's when it really creates a different energy. So that's been really cool. So thank you. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. Judgment.
Yay!
My favorite topic. The thing that most limited my capacity to receive was judgment. I noticed that whenever I went into judgment about anything, whether it was a positive judgment or a negative judgment, I stopped myself from receiving anything that didn't match that judgment. I discovered that every judgment I had about what money meant to me created parameters around what I could receive. The most limited and absurd judgment I had about money was, it's taboo to talk about money. I used to see money as part of something I did not understand. I was brought up to believe that discussing money was offensive and in bad taste. I had bought on erroneous points of view that money was a personal subject that should not be discussed and certainly shouldn't be taught or talked about in public. I used to feel embarrassed, frustrated, and uncomfortable when I had to talk about wealth and money. From the moment I chose the path of consciousness prosperity, I knew that when I resisted thinking or talking about money, then I was declaring to the universe my unwillingness to receive it. And here's the bottom line. When I avoided talking about money or even thinking about it, I was creating barriers to receiving it. My reluctance and resistance were really a receiving issue. Not only that, but it took a huge amount of energy to keep my judgments about money in place until I was able to feel good about having money and plenty of it. I would not be able to receive it. Once I recognized that, I asked myself 2 questions. What do I want? And what feels best? I realized that I had to choose to be greater than I had been willing to be. I made a demand of myself. I chose to stop putting up barriers to receiving money and to claim and own my ability to talk about money with ease. That decision started the process of becoming excited and wholehearted about seeing the value of me, my life, and my work. I chose to be elated about the way our clients and potential clients could benefit from our services and products. Practical process. You are the only one who knows what is stopping you from receiving money. You can use the questions below to help discover the points of view that are preventing you from receiving unlimited amounts of money. What am I absolutely unwilling to receive that, if I were willing, would manifest as total abundance? What am I unwilling to receive that would allow more money into my life? What are the defining elements of my reality with money? And if I had a lot of money, what would I be? That I am currently unwilling to be. This one is for me big game changer, because it brought up like, oh, I'm not unwilling to be seen as rich completely, or that would my friends, will they still like me, or how much would I make people uncomfortable? Like, what am I currently unwilling to be if I had a lot of money that I would like, that could actually shift? Really is for me one of my favorites.
I must say that still something in my world. Last year when I came to Spain, especially when I came to the countryside, there's quite a lot of judgments, points of views in the way that they looked at me, and I was rich, and I don't consider myself rich, whatever that means. But they were like, "Wow, you have a really nice car," and in their world, like, "Wow, you have a lot of money," and for me, it was like, "No, but we're kind of like the same anyway." Like, so I could see how things were like getting really uncomfortable in me, and they didn't really have like, it wasn't a negative judgment. They were just like, "Wow, you have a lot of money," and I was like, and I was almost trying to hide it. And then at the end, I could not, because I was living in a hotel for 3 months. I was flying out from there. I had a good time, and so I was like, but I could see, and I still can have a taste where I still avoid some of those judgments.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I want to avoid the separation that could occur because I have money and they don't.
Oh, wow.
And it was very interesting. And I made a lot of really great friends, and they do not put me on a pedestal. They almost make it more important that I don't pay them. So if I want to pay them or gift them, like, Lisa, no money. I'm like, but I could really give you money here because I have a little bit extra and you don't. So it's like, it's also that where I have to sneak in a different way to gift them because I know that they don't have a lot. But it's very interesting for me to look at that when that showed up because it became a very different level of what you have. And I was absolutely weird for them, but this is still very interesting. And I'm going to take a time to look at this even more now.
Yeah. I love what you're saying about that you're avoiding the sense of separation.
Well, at least it was more like I do not want that to be created.
Yeah.
So I had a point of view that will be created, and I've seen it in other areas where I'm like, wow, this is either something that does occur, or I'm projecting it, or it might occur. And what points of views do I have around that? So I was like, ooh.
I recognize this so much from my husband's family's from Africa, and rich people are kind of seen as assholes. Like everybody wants to be rich, but those fucking rich people. And it's like very normal to make jokes about it, and it's such a point of view that people all share. And it's been really interesting with the access tools to not respond to it, but also to look at what it brings up when you do, where you do hide it and where you do want to like not make it so apparent, the difference, because like the separation that you're talking about that can be created. But it's really, really a big one, I think, that we have learned also to always kind of see what is acceptable and go there. It's really interesting.
If I had a lot of money, what would I be that I currently unwilling to be?
Yeah. Great question, guys, for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Yay. Thank you. Can I ask a little tiny question?
Yes, please.
It's about the practical processes. Do you write those answers or awarenesses you have around these questions? Do you write them down? Or do you ask them in your head and then process whatever comes up?
What I've done is just that I ask it to myself and I answer for myself, and I see what that brings up, and I look at whatever the answer is or whatever energy is coming up. But I mean, my point of view is do whatever is fun for you, whatever you like.
So if you're a writer, write it down because you'll have a lot of fun with that. And not in this book, but the money workbook, I really write it down a lot. So I'm like, maybe I'm going to write it down, Leonie. You're bringing me on a good new idea here. Sometimes you know, we lie to ourselves a lot.
I know. I'm not a writer myself per se. I process a lot in my head or thinking about it. But what you say, you lie or you push it down. You repress it. You can do, not there. And
exactly.
When you write
it would be interesting if a writer can't really avoid seeing if that still applies, if I still can change something here. So like it makes it really freaking clear if you want to see it. And sometimes you're like, yeah, and then you're like, oh, that was yesterday, but maybe this is where the honesty, like what I love is even just to say they often ask you like, truly like, what is it? And they in their universe have no point of view. What you will say in that space, if you're willing to have that to you, like without like, hey, whatever shit is here, that's okay. But if I'm not honest, I'm not really present with who I am. And it's really hard to change when you're not honest with yourself.
True.
So I think writing might be an interesting exercise for us, right?
I think so too.
And also seeing the change, because like just like with the money workbook, you actually see how your points of view change, and where things are still sticky and where it's getting unsticky and where it's getting more spaces. So awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leonie. Awesome. Yes.
Do you want me or do you? Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Okay. The willing to do something is not the same as actually doing it. Yes, I love this. I talk this to my clients a lot. During money and consciousness workshops, Gary often asks people, are you willing to do whatever it takes to create a huge amount of money? Most people respond, yes, of course. However, when he asks them, so would you do prostitution for money? Then most respond with firmness and conviction, no way. He chooses prostitution as an example, as most people have a lot of judgment attached to it. They often react to his question in an unconscious, judgmental manner. This example shows that we often misidentify the willingness to do something with the actual doing of it. When you say you would not do something, whatever it might be, it indicates that you have a judgment that it is wrong, bad, improper, or indecent. However, when you're willing to do something, you let go of all your points of views about it and truly choose. If the decision to not do prostitution is made from choice, no point of view, then it is a conscious choice. This is so different. I mean, I have had this conversation with him in a money class like 9 years ago. Oh my God, I had a lot of points of views. I can definitely say, looking at that, what, because I was also defending the rightness of all those things, blah, blah, blah. But when I started changing that, it's so clear so many more clients arrived. I was like, oh God, it was really funny. If the decision is made from a fixed point of view and unwillingness to receive all the judgments and everything else that might be associated with prostitution, then it is an unconscious choice. This is an example to illustrate the difference between conscious choice, I'm willing to be a prostitute but choose not to, an unconscious choice, no way, I would never do that. I'm willing to be a prostitute. I wonder what that means. So we have an exercise directly. Practice process. Here are some questions that will help you to look at your decisions regarding what you're not willing to receive money for and what you would not be willing to do for money. Please give this exercise a try, even though it may seem peculiar or out of the ordinary. You may discover some interesting decisions and judgment that you have made. This is really good. This would be really highlighted too. Yeah. Is there anything you would not be willing to do for money?
Like really, honestly.
I do have some showing up. Is there anything you would not be willing to do for money? What kind of work or activity can you not imagine yourself doing?
Cleaning the toilet.
I was like, oh, we do that once, huh?
Yeah, but like as a job?
I know, I did get that. And I'm very happy if it does, if I don't have to do it, but yes. What kind of activity? Or work? Activity, I guess you're not doing that at home, huh? Can you not imagine yourself doing? I agree. No, it's like, wow, there is some things where I'm like,
yeah. I would prefer to be like a assassin than to clean poo-poo.
I was like,
I actually have a point of view about poo-poo.
I love the second one. It was poo-poo came up for me too. But then the first one, I was not willing to kill. I was like, oh. Kalpana came a little further than me. She's willing to kill. Fine. Poo-poo, we still have the same. I'm so grateful I don't pick up poo-poo of my dog. It happens maybe 3 times a year. She doesn't poop if she's not sick or something. She poops in high grass or far away or in slopes, like where you can hardly pick it up. She's very environmental friendly, and no plastic is being used in this household with her. She's very aware of that. It makes it a little bit not easy to live in a city if there's no really good parks with high grass or bushes. But poo-poo is a very interesting thing. But look at this. This is interesting, because if we would look at another question just in that, how much would I have to pay you to do it, Kalpana?
Exactly. A lot of money.
She would be like this housewife energy. But I know you would just hire somebody else with that money. So
exactly. I was going to just say that. I will hire somebody else and pay them less, so I'll actually make money out of it.
You're bad now. Bad girl. She's making money of poo now.
Look, infinite possibilities.
The poo business of Kalpana.
Oh my God, so funny.
Funny, I was thinking that I won't be willing to clean blood. Here you go. You guys are talking about killing. Well, we're kind of like connected here with this. I think we can create a new business, I guess. The third one is, what projections and expectations and judgment do you have that create an I can't do it mentality? Oh, I can't do it.
Oh.
I can't do it. I was like, I have too much, I can do it.
Yeah, I know, I'm also searching.
I can't do it mentality. I've had that before. That's not really my mentality a lot. So I'm practicing a lot. I'm like Scandinavian, or like power woman. So I'm practicing receiving help. Men helping you open a door, and I'm getting better. That one's good. But like being a helpful, like somebody that is allowed to be helped.
Yeah,
they love that here in the South.
Sure.
And then you're like, strong woman. You're like, whoops, this is not working. That creates separation, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit becoming willing to receive everything, Kalpana?
Become willing to receive everything. When we are willing to receive everything, then we release attachment to the emotions, events, or judgments that obstruct our awareness, so we have a greater clarity about what is possible. When Steve and I did this exercise ourselves, we were amazed to discover many hidden decisions we had made about what we would and would not do for money. Once we became aware of the decisions, we chose to destroy and uncreate them. Now, anytime we catch ourselves thinking or saying, I would never do that for money, then we instantly destroy and uncreate that decision. Willingness to receive does not mean that you have to physically do everything that has been asked of you or presented to you. It does not mean you're obligated to do something or conform to anyone's requirements. Willingness to receive everything simply means that you release attachment to the emotions, events, or judgment that obstruct your awareness, so you have a greater clarity about what is possible. Tools that you can use to enhance your ability to receive money and everything else. Receive the greatness of you. Questions to ask. 1. What's it going to take for me to receive the greatness of me? 2. What am I unwilling to receive about me that, if I were willing, would allow me to have the totality of me? 3. What am I unwilling to receive about the greatness of me? Say to yourself, all of the unwillingness to receive the greatness of who I truly am, and all the talents, abilities, and awareness that I decided I could not have, I now claim, own, and acknowledge, and I now destroy and uncreate everything that doesn't allow that to exist. Right, wrong, good, bad, all, if you want, but not. It just came automatically.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're allowed to add, Kalpana.
Yeah, very good. Develop the unlimited capacity to receive. Nice. Questions to ask. What am I unwilling to receive here? What ideas or viewpoints have I created that are stopping me from receiving? What am I absolutely unwilling to receive that, if I were willing, would manifest as total abundance? What am I unwilling to receive that would allow more money into my life? What are the defining elements of my reality with money? So this is really cool, like Leonie, your question, because basically they have really created this book, kind of like we were saying, also like a workbook, because this is the stuff that you can play with. You don't even have to search in the text. It's all written out for you that you can play with. And the last portion, receive everything without judgment. Do you want to do that one, Lisen?
Questions to ask. What would it be like to receive from everybody without judgment? What would it be like to receive everything from everybody without any point of view? If I had a lot of money, there we go again. What would I be that I'm currently unwilling to be? Is there anything I would not be willing to do for money? What kind of work or activity can I not imagine myself doing? Oh my God. What projections, expectations, and judgments do I have that create an I can't do it mentality? That's interesting. That's really intriguing. I'm really happy you guys are here, because this is going to put a little bit of more energy. You know, when you do something together and we put an energy on this topic, what awareness are we going to receive the next couple of days? What amazingness are we going to create? And I'm like, wow, hey, let's ask for money.
Exactly. Yeah, let's play with these tools, guys. It's really awesome. Like you said, Lisa, it creates such a great energy when you're doing it together. And we have the Facebook group, so you could even share whatever is coming up for you, and play with us and share with us whatever is occurring between today and Wednesday.
Yes.
Cool.
And Can I ask a question?
Oh yes, please.
Okay, so I was just sitting and I'm wondering about what is the energy of making a demand? It's kind of been playing in my head for a while, because it seems like I'm doing it from desperation. Like today, for example, I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm done with this life. I would like something different. And what will it take? And what will it take? And what will it take? And then I'm like, okay, I'm making a demand of myself. Yet it's like I'm doing it from desperation, almost like from lack.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you ladies have any tips on how can I look at this energy in a different way that I can play with?
Do you want to go, Kalpana? Should I go?
Go for it, Lisa.
Yeah. So I can say it doesn't really matter if you come from desperation. That's totally fine. Like you are where you are. I've done a lot of demands from limitations, from lack, from needing something. What you do afterwards changes a lot. So if you have a demand, or demand for me is an energy that you do not let go of what you would like to create. You go for it 100%. You go into this also committed to the change you're asking for. And I can see it, like often when I have a demand in the beginning, I'm like kind of frustrated or pissed if it comes from something that didn't work for me. And that energy of being a little pissed off, or like intensity and rah, it has a lot of potency in it. And if I continue with that, it's like I was going German, Wirbelsturm. It's like, rah, the storm of energy. And this, like internally, you can have a demand without being emotional, but I'm just coloring a little bit. So if you allow that to be there and you go for that energy, like, and you totally use it, and you do not let go of what you would like to create, what will then show up? What would happen if you absolutely were willing to have a demand on you?
Yeah, it's like I think your internet is cutting out.
I might be.
Too much energy.
Yes.
Too much demand. Yeah, okay. Because what I do is I get annoyed, pissed off, and all that, and I'm changing this, and then I'm like, 2 hours later, I'm like, oh my god, who's gonna do this for me? Who's gonna do this for me?
But that's where like demand only works of having it towards yourself. So it doesn't. Nobody else can change your life. You can receive help and all that, but if you after 2 hours let go of that, you're not really having a demand anymore.
Okay.
You're going a little pathetic on yourself. So what if you were really 100% willing to use that energy and to create something different?
Yeah, because right now I'm just wasting that energy against me, really. I'm just using it.
Do you see that you have a demand, you have an energy, you're intense, it can be even like you're pissed.
Yeah.
But if you then go in any direction of judging yourself or having a point of view that what you're doing is not good, we're back to this. We're not willing to receive the change then because we have a judgment.
Oh, for the love of God. All right. Thank you.
Can we give the Facebook group link here? Yeah, I'm sure we can. Otherwise, go to what?
In the chapter, Teresa speaks about willing to receive everything and to lose everything. And I think that can also create a lot of space. For me, it's been a big one. Like, I have not been willing to lose everything, but I've really been that has been a great game changer for me, because you are tenacious. Like actually what Lisen is saying, there is a tenaciousness. You're like, I'm going for this and only I can do this because I'm the source. And I'm not going to give it up. I don't need to go into emotions. I don't need to go into fighting. And at the same time, which seems like contradicting to say I'm willing to lose it, is where you basically let go of how it should show up or when or where or whatever. So this, I think you might want to just look at that again, because that can create a lot of space also in your demand towards you, that you also create this willingness to be like, okay, I have no fucking clue how, but I'm willing and I'm going to be willing to do everything. Just wanted
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, there's a Nusi dog, and then there's Vicky's dog, and there's Sinya. And how does it get in better?
I'm a little doggy at the moment. I love it. Thank you guys. This is awesome. Thank you for the start and this energy. So 2 days and we're on again. So it's evening in Europe. And then Aussie land. I'm really grateful you guys are on so early.
Oh, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
It's Thursday. I just wanted to, before we end, just so you guys know that we changed the last date because of some practical things that showed up. So we were going to have like Monday, Wednesday, the 17th being the last. We had to change the 17th to this 22nd. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Monday.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And we'll give you that, and we'll put it in the post in the group too. But just so you guys you heard it, make a note, and we can do something fun in our group on Wednesday. Otherwise, but we're not having our beautiful little meeting.
Yes.
Cool.
Awesome.
So, thank you, everybody.
Speak to you soon. See you Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.